We all love video games for different reasons, from getting lost in vast virtual open worlds, to giant awe-inspiring boss fights, to all kinds of ingenious, thrilling and addictive gameplay. But one of the most important elements of a good game to me is a gripping story. If I want to know how something plays out, I will stay on the hook to the end, even when I might otherwise be distracted and fall off. If I need to know what happens, I will see a game through to credits, and especially if my choices along the way matter, and they can change the outcome in meaningful ways. Today's video is about 4 indie games that have deep, gripping stories with consequential choices and branching outcomes. So stick around to find out more, and if you do enjoy this video, likes are very much appreciated. You can always subscribe for more videos like this, and I would really like to hear about your favourite video game stories in the comments. There are a lot of good hidden games out there, and we can all help each other find the good ones. And if you'd like to support this channel further, I'll let you know about the Patreon at the end. So with that said, let's get on with the video. I'm going to start with the most popular one, Citizen Sleeper, by Jump Over the Age, because I think a lot of people like this game, a lot of people love it. It's become a renowned indie game and it won a lot of Game of the Year awards. But I thought if you like this one, you'll most likely like the other 3 that I have for you as well. And there's a lot to love about Citizen Sleeper. It's a sci-fi role-playing game based on tabletop rules, but brought to life by a cast of beautifully illustrated characters, set against the chilly, vibey backdrop of Erlin's Eye, a crumbling space station that's home to merchants, vagrants, gangsters, hackers, farmers, and scheming politicians. And we're at the bottom of this food chain. We arrive on the station as a stowaway, an android body who has escaped slavery and needs proprietary medication just to survive. That medication is illegal and expensive, so we have to establish a survival situation as quickly as possible, navigating several parallel storylines and deciding where our time is most valuably spent. The game is mechanically interesting. We roll dice to decide the outcomes of conversations and situations, with cleverly used cooldowns simulating the passing of time. We have less dice to roll as we get sicker because things get harder, but there's also a skill tree that adds modifiers to help us along. But the story here really is the high point. We meet waifs and strays, wisecracking oddballs and refugees. The game's packed with small stories as we start to carve out a community here. My own favourite was a food truck guy called Memphis, who makes noodles so strong, even your robot body can taste them, so you keep going back. At first he trades you meals for stories, and he slowly opens up to you over time. It felt like a really meaningful relationship. There's also Lem and Mina, a father and daughter, striving to get off the eye before everything falls apart. They don't judge you like other people do, and you can choose to help them, and it's a really beautiful story with a great outcome. The game has many endings, and it is possible to see them all, but eventually I found one that felt like my own personal canon. And even though the game was just wonderful, I was sad that it was over, because that is the power of the wonderful Citizen Sleeper. The next one that I have for you is a truly eccentric game called Norco. It's a near-future point-and-click adventure set in the depths of Louisiana, and based on a real place, where the horizon is dominated by a giant, smoking, fiery oil refinery that looks like something out of Blade Runner. Our character arrives home after a period of just wandering the earth to investigate the death of her mom and the disappearance of her brother. We carry out an investigation of what happened that takes us through dystopian towns, ghostly swamps and polluted ditches, vast factories and crumbling municipal buildings, and an abandoned mall taken over by a bizarre cult. And as we get closer to the truth of what happened, the rabbit hole keeps going deeper and deeper like it'll never end. We find out about a sinister AI that seems to have fused with nature and is sending people jobs via an app. We can pick some of those jobs up and it leads us deeper into the mystery. This game is a collage of weird Americana. A lot of it feels all too plausible, and that's because it's based on lived experience. The developers of this game are from Norco, which is a real place. So lots of the stories that are woven into this game are based on reality. And that's a scary thing to think about in a dystopian game like this. So it's an intelligent game that mixes magical realism with speculative sci-fi and social, cultural, and environmental commentary, whilst remaining funny and edgy and surreal, and kind of suffused with a wild, hallucinatory quality. And if that sounds at all interesting to you, I think this is a game you should really see for yourself. So book yourself a trip to the dark heart of Norco. Those first 2 games were sci-fi, but the next one is actually historical. It is Gerda, A Flame in Winter, made by Don't Nod and released on Steam and Switch in 2022. It's an isometric adventure game set in Denmark during the Nazi occupation. We play as Gerda, who's a nurse whose husband is taken by the Nazis on a snowy midwinter night. She faces some intense, life-changing revelations, and many consequential choices, both big and small, as she tries to track down her husband, untangle what happened, and see him again, or even save his life. And this game has a very specific atmosphere that feels true, and gives us a look into what life at this time might have been like. Dialogue really matters. You have to choose your words carefully as you navigate a scenario that's a minefield for Gerda. The air is thick with suspicion and paranoia, between Nazi spies infiltrating the community and reporting back, through to the resistance fighters who are on the lookout for sympathizers and collaborators and won't treat them well. The community is torn between the Nazis, the invading force, and the local business magnates and industrialists who play their cards close to their chest but wield a lot of power, and the local community that are doing their best to survive or resist or fight back. We meet a Nazi officer who has the effect of a coiled snake ready to strike at any time, and whether you choose diplomacy, secrecy, openness, or even blackmail will matter a lot, because you have all these affinity meters with every other character, as well as general meters for your standing with the Danes, the Germans, and the Resistance. Your reputation lies on these ever-shifting scales, and it will decide who will trust you, and whether they will help you, hinder you, or harm you, and they will ultimately decide whether Gerda will ever see her husband again. This was a really well-made and memorable game, and it even got DLC that fill us in about a Resistance leader character, so give this one a try. That's Gerda, A Flame in Winter. And the last game that I have for you is maybe the most story-focused of all of these games, and it's really worth checking out. It's called Roadwarden, and it effectively does for choose-your-own-adventure books what Baldur's Gate 3 did for D&D. So it's a modern text adventure, but wait, don't go. Let me tell you why this is an essential play for anyone who is interested in story-forward indie games. In this game we play as a Roadwarden, that is a kind of a horseback ranger who travels the realm, and they make sure the roads are clear, they help people out, kind of like Aragorn in Lord of the Rings. And in this game we play as a Roadwarden who's been sent to an infamously wild and sparsely populated peninsula of the realm. Our mission is ostensibly to report back to an unpopular government on what we find there, and our reports could shape what becomes of this place and all of the people who live there. That means the people that we meet are skeptical about us at first, and we meet all kinds of local figures, like a troop of soldiers that have been overwhelmed by the wilderness, and different kinds of communities, from eccentric druids living on the edge, to an undead village, to a local town with a dark history, and kind of a hippie commune on the northern tip of the peninsula. The game has a large text box where the story is told in lovely descriptive language, and there are pixel art tableaus that show an impression of each location. It really does add a lot. We see the start of the location, and as we move north or south or west, the map opens up to show us new locations. There's a novel-length amount of text here, like Disco Elysium or something, and I found this game to be utterly absorbing. We do rounds of the peninsula, and the clock ticks down before we have to send that final report. The game does have a hard limit, and how much you can uncover in that time is up to you. I absolutely loved exploring this wilderness. It reminded me of Fellowship of the Ring. We form relationships with people as we round the peninsula. We meet them at different stages of their life and after different events. And we can improve the roads to get around faster, find shortcuts through dangerous woods, and fight off strange creatures. We can discover dark secrets and investigate the fate of the last missing Roadwarden, the one before us. It's just brilliant, and the endings account for a huge amount of decisions and outcomes and relationships that you make along the way. All of your choices are very consequential, and it will affect everyone who lives on this wild stretch of land. It's a very special, story-focused game that's available on Steam for Mac or PC, so check it out. That's Roadwarden. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, please give it a like. You can always subscribe to the channel for more, and let me know in the comments what you thought of these games and if there are other games that you think I would like. Every like and comment helps these videos to rise to the top of the algorithm, and if you would like to support the channel further, there is also a Patreon from $1 a month, where you get an invite to our patron-only Discord and some bonus content too. There's a community member called Dovetail in the Discord who is actually doing a book club, where people will play games inspired by books, read the books at the same time, and then talk about them. The first game that they're doing is The Invincible. So if you'd like to join in with that and lots more, it's patreon.com/gaminginthewild. That's it for this video. Take care of yourselves and each other, and I'll see you on the next one.